Hello, welcome to Tarot for Our Times. This is Sarah, your medium on the go. And so much news is breaking, this Epstein story will not go away. And I've touched on this whole religious, the culty religious stuff going on, but I wanted to dig into it a little bit more deeply with the shadow of the high priestess, usually in reverse. And that's a two-faceted thing. Now, we know that the engine of this whole regime has been born out of the evangelical movement, these kind of fake Christians, kind of the Bible thumping kind, not the real ones like the Jimmy Carter camp or the Mr. Rogers. No, but this is the dark culty side of Christianity. But there's another angle to this too, and this is my world of the New Age people that went QAnon, and I will be getting into that. Now, as you know, and some of the other readers have been talking about, is aside from Midas Touch, a lot of us are looking at the iHip channel, which is the I've Had It with Jennifer and Angie, known as Pumps. And they really take the this Christian thing to task very, very well. It's very interesting that these two people that have been friends for, I think, since high school. Now, Jennifer was raised as an atheist, and Angie was into that whole churchy thing. And it was interesting because I Tuesday and Thursday, that's my, having breakfast, get the day going podcast. And it was very interesting what they discussed today because Jennifer has been a lifelong atheist, and Angie, she did grow, and this is Oklahoma, she did grow up in that very religious and Republican world, but they really made a distinction that there is a difference between that and MAGA. But still, they speak about the hypocrisy and the lack of compassion and this sort of thing. But they also talked about Angie coming around and realizing that there was more to the world than just herself and the church, and realizing that people had rights. And they talk about that quite a bit. So they go into that very well. What I don't think is being covered, which is something that began with me during the pandemic 5 years ago, is the New Age side to this. Now, I listen to plenty of psychics and astrologers who I call the like-minded, rational people, but for a while I was listening. I went to the dark side, and 5 years ago, about this time, there, and I'm not going to mention her name. It's not really cricket to do that, but you'll probably know who I'm talking about. This sort of like self-appointed guru that has 80 trillion people following her put out a tape or a video called "Is Trump a Light Worker?" And I think the QAnon crowd really, really latched onto her. But I knew that there were people in my world that were, trending to that. In fact, it really broke up a friendship of mine the year before the pandemic. In fact, we used to share the platform together as mediums. And at any rate, during the pandemic, with a lot of conspiracy theories and this sort of thing going on, I noticed I was actually surprised at how many people in my world, and this is mediums, psychics, astrologers, who I just started blocking because it was just too crazy making to listen to them. And I think this is something that isn't covered very much on even the alternative channels like mine. But I started listening to some other. They fall into some categories. I think there were some fence straddlers who, with all due respect, are pretty uninformed, like too many people in my world. And the thing is that this trying to, straddle the two fences, so to speak, and trying to be open-minded, but learning more about it. There's it just no such thing, because it really comes down to decency and morality, and the fact that the number of I mean, the Lincoln Project, with people like Michael Steele, former Republican chair, and the Lieutenant Governor of Maryland, and George Conway, conservative attorney. And the thing is that these are the old school Republicans, and the kind that you can actually get along with and realize that there were a lot of things that were similar. We just have different views of going about and getting them. But this whole MAGA thing has truly, truly very much gone to the dark side, with concentration camps and hatred towards gay and trans people and people of color. There's anti Semitism, anti Islamism, a whole lot of things. And I did delve into some history of after the 1918 pandemic. Very, very similar. It's almost chilling. And then it was in those years following that, when the rise of fascism, and we had the occult people who were very much with fascism and Hitler. Maybe they reincarnated into QAnon, but it was as I did more digging, it was very chillingly similar. And I want to make sure I'm looking at my notes to make sure that I cover these points before I do the reading. So I started, and some of them I knew personally. Some of them were very unpleasant surprises. In fact, one of them had been a classmate, another American who had been a classmate at mine at Arthur Findlay. But she was pretty much going along with her husband, who had gone MAGA, and it was a number of people from Lilydale. But I was amazed at how these types of people span from an Arthur Findlay connection of, I didn't know her personally, but that's how we became friends on Facebook, who is a British girl with her spiritual center in Germany, to Vancouver, BC. This and maybe a couple down in Australia. But I was amazed at how many of them that there were that I had to let go of, because it was just too crazy making. And I did listen to some astrologers and psychics on YouTube, and I had subscribed, and then I unsubscribed because I said, that's it, I've had enough of them. And some of them were British. There's one astrologer who's British, who's kind of MAGA. So it's not only an American thing. So the one thing that I see that they have in common is, like the one that made the Is Trump a Light Worker tape. I followed her on Facebook, made a few snide comments, but it's kind of like her following, they worship her, and that no one, that she could do no wrong. And I have this big thing about making people gurus. It is moving towards a cult. So I finally, in fact, somebody messaged me like, how dare, in my message thing, how dare I disagree with this woman. So at any rate, and then I've heard a lot of this thing about the going from the 3D to the 5D consciousness. Now, I think we all evolve spiritually at our own rate. It's like some people, maybe they're there, but I've heard a lot of emphasis on that. And with some people, it's a little bit less, a little bit of smugness, like, "Oh, I'm more enlightened than you are." But at any rate, and then there's that with the whole deep state thing. But as I said in my previous video, that this whole thing, and this is how they suckered people in that may not have been too balanced, was built on the deep state and child trafficking, and how Trump was going to, free us all from that. In fact, a former friend of mine, expat in the UK, really got sucked into that, which was not the case when I saw her in London 9 years ago. She hated Trump, and then, but it was the whole thing with the getting the caught in with the pandemic and the anti-vaxxing and this stuff. So I guess it isn't to, once they get the hook into you there, that going over and looking at Trump as the savior by believing pizza parlor, conspiracy theories, all of that. Now, that's what they built their house on. But now, with the reluctance of Republicans to release those files, a lot of them are realizing the deep state. The deep state may be what we have been following. So that's gotta hurt. So at any rate, I do want to go into the new agey stuff, because it's with mediums, psychics, all that sort of thing. And I think the first read I want to do is what's happening with all of this. And this Epstein thing, it's not going away. I know from history, especially now that we have an internet, no one has to schlep 20 tons of piles of paper over to the Washington Post anymore. It's like point, click, thumb drives, all this stuff. They're just not going to be able to quash this, because if anybody ever put any of that as much as on a word processor, someone's going to dig it up. So I just want to see what's going to happen with these people. I know some of them are really down the rabbit hole. And as the Epstein thing goes along, and it is not going to decrease, it will increase. I just sort of want to see where they're at and where it's going. Then I want to take a look about some of these people who have this. I do think that maybe we are going through a big raise in consciousness, but I also want to take a look at some of the people that have used that in a kind of a dark way. And I'm referring to that girl in Oregon with the "Is Trump a light worker?" that her view of that consciousness may not be the real thing, or she has her own idea, kind of going back to the occult Hitler days. So at any rate, so we have our, as you see from the thumbnail, and this would be in reverse, but I set them up right. We have I used the, to me, when I saw those riots on January 6th of 2021, when I saw that shaman guy, I said, oh boy, he's the embodiment of all these people I jerk offs I've been blocking right and left. So I thought, some people thought it was weird. I said, no, that makes all the sense in the world. And apparently he had some clones turning up at Trump's trial last summer. We have that. And I always said the dark side of this was the church lady from SNL that represents the Christian hypocrisy. And then I had him representing the New Age hypocrisy. So at any rate, I do want to delve into this, and I think that this may go pretty deeper, that I may find other aspects of it that I will do some readings. Now, the news has been happening so fast that it's just been very, minute by minute kind of a thing. I know I will delve into some of these things, but I want to look at the energy about what this is all doing. And the more he speaks, the more unhinged he gets. So that doesn't make for the strong Superman. They're looking to fix their lives. Okay, so let's see, where is it at now? Okay, interesting because at the heart of this movement, there are people that would hold on, but this is an interesting Four of Pentacles because those things are floating out of the box. So what this is telling me is that they may be hanging on, but it's getting weaker. It's not like the one where he's got his foot on the, clinging and one glued to the head. No, they're coming out of the box. So there may be the will to hang on, but as more things are released, it's going to be harder. So there's still a lot of people involved in this, but it's going to be harder. So, okay, so the energy of this is the Hermit in reverse. So this pretty much says is that they need the group. They don't want to be alone. But I think what I'm saying is as a lot of people peel off of this, there are going to be some very lonely people. And the Serpent says, and it's poisonous and toxic. So we've got that. So leading up to this with the Before Tarot, which I have been shuffling before I start because there are a lot of decks. So with the Before Tarot, we have the Moon. So we have the Moon, the lower evolution of this thing, and you can see that the wild and the tame dog have not fallen into the light of this, and they're not howling at the moon, but they're getting ready to. So this tells me that as more of this is revealed and they move closer, there will be some fighting and howling at the moon, but right now they're kind of at the lower end of the evolution thing in this. And that those it's interesting because those pillars are very wide apart in this. So, okay, and then the After Tarot, we have the Magician. This whole move, see, before a lot of people leave, it's the realization, it's losing its magic as more is revealed. Because in his upright position, he's about ready to grab onto these things to get, but no, actually, since this is after, I think that he's kind of sending them off into the universe, and this, he's just losing it. He hasn't been able to grasp on this at all. So, underlying all of this stuff here, we have the Three of Wands, which is telling me that not only, because this is, I can tell you from people that I had to let go of, I mean, there was some, I was a little shocked at the numbers overseas. This is not only starting to fall apart here, internationally as well, too. The lies are being caught. The lies are, whatever they've gotten away with, all the lies. In reverse, he's losing, and losing the followers, but it's like the lies are transparent. They're not working anymore. He's throwing all of this stuff against the wall like it's a big batch of pasta that's not quite cooked yet. Okay, then we have the Four of Wands. This is the card of getting together, making deals, that sort of thing. As I look at this, I think that this may be part of reconciling with people that have been really alienated from them. And a lot of this is from the Spirit, because I'm telling you, as many as I got rid of, the greater bulk of the people that I've known at Arthur Findlay, in Lilydale, the vast majority of those people are not on board with this. But I will tell you, the minority really sticks out like a sore thumb. So this may be the sadder but wiser reconciling with their with people that they lost. That this could be the FAFO of not being welcome at Thanksgiving dinner right after the election thing. Okay, so then we have on the conscious level, we have the Empress, who is that's Russia. And you know, the one thing that I found that I'm not shocked at much, but I was a little bit like taken aback, was the fact is that a number of these people were just really making up all these fairy tales about Ukraine and that the Russians were right. And so this is sort of like this very Russian mentality that they need they need a dictator. Now, a lot of people left Russia, but they you know, it's coming to this, the leader that has all the answers, that kind of thing. And this is the women, the white women that the IHIP ladies speak about, who go along with all of this sort of thing, and which is sort of like having their own dictator at home and having a kind of weird idea of what women are supposed to be. Subconscious is the Fool. Now, as more of this stuff is revealed, subconsciously there may be a desire to break away from all of this nonsense and to make a new beginning, which pretty much goes along with this Four of Rods thing. So, okay, so in opposition of this over here, we have the Knight of Pentacles. It's the loyal knight. So it's a matter of their question, like, who am I loyal to? Am I loyal to the cult, or am I loyal to my country? And moving along slowly to decide. I think people are going through some changes, but it's slow and it's steady. Okay, so in in the past, we have this, we see that we have the Sun, which means that we're wondering, where is that kid going to land on the horse? So this is talking about people seeking the truth, but maybe just kind of like, just sort of like not landing right, seeing somebody else's truth and not sure if they're going to make it on that unicorn, or is it a horse? It's a horse. Okay, so right now in the present, we have got the Seven of Swords, which is about it's about the thieves, the theft, maybe coming to the awareness of people having stolen their time and their money. Don't forget the money, with all of the lies. But this is saying, unfortunately, they may still be getting away with it to a smaller extent. But it's still there, and it's still, they're allowing their pockets to be picked. So it's not quite all there yet. I'm going to say this may be the hardcore base. So let's see. Going into a little bit of the future. Okay. Interesting. Now we have the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, which is saying that the loyalty to this whole new age culty, fake astrology, fake psychic stuff is starting. It will be starting to fade. It will be starting to fade. And I would say because it is a pentacle, it could be possibly with that big horrendous bill. Now, it's not going into effect yet, but when they look into the future to see what their health care being taken away, the money isn't getting any better with this. So people they're questioning their loyalty to this. And it's not the whole thing is that what this is saying, it's not a real fast process. Okay, so going a little bit further into the future, we have, they are up really fighting the demons about what they got into. Is this the one with the bloody swords? No, it isn't. This is the insomnia of the monsters, the monsters in the night, that of their own mind, that are they're fighting their demons, their monsters. And as I say, this is part of the whole thing, like doing this, but it's an ugly. I think what's going to happen is that they're going to have to go through some ugliness first. So going a little bit further, like some months from now, the Queen of Cups. And this is pretty much going back to something that's real and nurturing on an emotional level, because I think what this whole thing is a realization of having been lied to. And I think of what it is wanting to get back to the people that they have alienated. Very interesting. So, hopes and fears we have. Well, the hopes is coming to grips with all of this, with everything that's coming at them, because I think there may be some soul searching. I think some deprogramming could be. But the fear is that not being able to beat this back and going through that window. This has a very Russian kind of thing to this. So what I'm pretty much getting from this is that there's a whole lot of, I think, a lot of confusion, because there are things getting right up in their face that they can no longer tell their lives about. And one thing I want to pull a card is, this stuff has been out there. There have been the accusations you cannot, there's only so long you can scream fake news. And so it puzzles me as to how that this has been out there since before the first election. So I just want to see, in light of all of that, and this could be conclusion number one, is how on earth are they finally seeing the light? Because now they're feeling betrayed, because they were promised that all of this was going to come out, and that Bill Clinton and every other Democrat were just been this whole child trafficking, sex ring. And now that the Republicans are holding back, it goes back to the fact is they are feeling betrayed because of their original premise, and now the deep state is an entirely different entity than what they thought it was going to be. So this is a betrayal. This is the heartbreak, which I think is a very good concluding card, too. The conclusion is that once all of this sinks in, and it's starting to, because this stuff here, this could be moving pretty fast, actually. But this right here, this is the heartbreak of the betrayal. So it took, how many, 10 years or what, more than that, finally sinking in. Just want to do a clarifier or two. So this is the Queen of Pentacles coming back to some sanity and maybe realizing that if they have betrayed them on that point, then taking a look at the bigger world view is that they may start looking at homeland security and how another betrayal is getting every country in the free world to hate us. So this is kind of having a chain reaction, one more of these. And some of this will really come down to their pocketbook, because some of the cult members, see, this is kind of like an octopus with a tentacle, because some of these people that had a few extra bucks, what happened with them is that if they believe all the sex trafficking stuff, then they probably bought into the Bitcoin scam. So, and there might have been a boost, but sometimes this card can mean easy come, easy go. So this betrayal is multi-fold. So I think what's happening with these culty, new age types of people is that they're slowly starting to see how they've been lied to, because why is Congress, why do they keep refusing to open those files, but then it goes out to their pocketbooks? And why are we hated? And, the thing is that a number of these people will all go to Chautauqua County, but other border cities in Michigan and all this place, like, they're really feeling the fact that they're not getting, at the very least, you would think they would be getting they're not getting the Canadians. I've seen Las Vegas as the ghost town. So the basic, once they get to the, sex trafficking thing, then things have a tendency to, here we go. Then like one thing leads to another. It's like not only that, but they're having not the best summer economically, because, face it, even in a place like Pittsburgh, where it may not be the top tourist attraction in the Western world, there's still something, Andy Warhol Museum, and a number of things to see, ride the incline, a number of things to see. But even when we're feeling the lack of people coming here, so there's something in every city and town that people may be interested. If they don't come, there's like no restaurant business. I mean, the thing is that people take it for granted and they don't realize how important it was until it misses it. So this will spill out, which I hadn't thought of, because it's been so much they want to talk about other things. Well, this actually has kind of rippled out to other aspects. Once they see this, they see other ways in which they have been betrayed. So this doesn't look like there's going to be a big mass exodus out of the New Age version of evangelical stuff. So that's why I'm saying that they're the two wings of the same thumping bird. It's like what I've said in a previous video, that I look at the evangelicals as the Tea Party, kind of your rednecky Christian sort of thing, and then the QAnon is more the New Age. And having seen January 6th, what was really, really telling about that was seeing the QAnon flags along with the Tea Party. And at first I was saying, Tea Party? I thought that was passé. No. What that said is that those two factions have got together. The meeting of the wings of the same bird. And that says an awful lot. So I want to take a look at what this raise in consciousness means when I've seen some of this interpreted to fit the MAGA agenda about so-called enlightenment that I've seen from some people. It's been a while since I've watched those videos, but I just want to see, because I feel as though that's being used. Like, what does that mean? We're going to rise up in a big fascist utopia? I don't know. So I'm going to do just a few cards on this. Okay, so let's see what this, because I do believe there is a big shift coming, but I think some people have used it to push an agenda. Okay, so let's see what that's all about. Okay, so we have here, we have the full. This really is a leap into the unknown. This is, I connect this with the age of Aquarius. Now, when I was back in college, and we were singing that, let you know how far back I go. We were singing the age of Aquarius and dancing to it. We didn't realize that it was going to take another 40 years for it just to start, just to put our little toesies in the little ripples that were coming up. So the Fool here is about leaping into the unknown. I think that it's not something that's happening at once, but everybody is going along at their own pace. This is kind of interesting because you got the dog as a spirit guide, you got the butterflies, the metamorphosis, and it is, and all the signs of the zodiac and the moon. It's quite a lovely card, actually. So this is a leap into the unknown. I don't think everybody knows exactly what it is, and it is collective, but it's not a collective all at once thing. So let's see, the energy we have around this is there. It's talking about a huge release of emotions. This would be, if I were doing a reading on Texas a week ago, this would be the big floods happening. So this is a big flood of emotions, which is saying that it is not necessarily, for a lot of people, is not going to be a pleasant thing. I think a lot of it is a lot of these disillusioned people in my world who are realizing they have been lied to, and they will have to go over some major grief for that. So let's see, we have the Page of Cups. The Page of Cups. Wow, this is interesting. 2 cups here. Page of Cups with the message of feelings, emotions, intuition. It's about a beginning of a new way of feeling, and that psychologically and everything else, that it's not going to be the same. But he's kind of a peaceful little guy here, and I love the seahorses. And so this is, I would say that once you get through with this, then some clarity comes in, clarity and renewal of peace. But sometimes you can't get there until you get rid of all the toxic stuff. Then we have here, this is still upright. So this is what this is saying, that even though we may go through this higher level of consciousness, there will be those that will use that, and this is what I'm saying, will use that to betray people. This is the thing in the land of woo-woo, is that there have been people that have come in to exploit it. It's not always for monetary reason, but that will play a part. It's about control. It's about all of these people coming on the internet saying, I have the answer. So it only follows suit that people that go for that stuff are going to go for a president or a government who says only, or the president who says only I can solve this problem. And that's why a lot of the woo-woos in the 20s and the 30s thought that Hitler was a really great thing. So this is as we go into a higher level of consciousness, this is not going to go away. They're going to be greedy people who are not elevated to that, and the danger of that is that people may get high on this. The naive guy here, they may get really high on this, and then when this happens, it's very disillusioning. So I think what this, a lot of what this has to do with is to maybe know that this is a part of life, but learning to deal with it a little bit better. So, I'm going to put a little aftercare. Okay, so there's a cautionary tale with the hermit. Sometimes if you go it alone and you try to deal with this in a not wise way, like the way he's holding that, I'm sure serpent handlers in the zoo would freak out over seeing, or people that work in, with the venom to make medicine would be freaking out to see this. It's great to grab the demons when you can, but if you don't grab it correctly, they do bite you, and that is perfect clarifier for this Three of Swords. So I think we're heading to it. It's a long and a slow process, but I'm feeling as though I need to just stick a couple here on this Ace of Cups reverse. So we have mistakes will still be made. It's learning that the part of this is like, oh, I'm so enlightened, but why am I still not planting the garden well? But that's part of the whole thing. And, I think a lot of this is almost going to be like this huge emotional thing, and it's going to be like kind of like a near death, kind of like it's a crisis, a near death, but you get through it. So I'm trying to, let's see, so what does this have to say about the whole thing? Is it, we are going into a higher level of consciousness, but the whole thing is that I think people may be misled to thinking like, oh, everything's going to be just wonderful. We're going to be in utopia, but this is saying not true, and you still have to be careful as to how you grapple with things. So, pretty much all of this, as far as in the world of, and especially with the Epstein things coming out, this is a big wake-up call. But it's not going to be like everybody magically turning against the tyrant, although polls, as all of you know, I'm very skeptical about polls. And what I'm seeing is that the approval rating, I think, is a lot lower than in the 40s. Some are showing it in the 30s. So I'm not quite in agreement with all of those, and but it's very high on people disapproving about the way that the Epstein files are being handled. I'm seeing this spiritually as a catalyst with all of these groups, because I think what's going to happen with a lot of these people is that especially seeing the Four of Rods marriage thing, is that on the evangelical Christian side of the priestess shadow, is a lot of them will just reconnect with the people they knew, and they'll go back to their church or synagogue of origin, which, maybe just, I always think of like Reform Judaism and your generic Protestant or Catholic churches, and kind of creep on back into that world, just the same as the QAnon people will distance themselves from the cult. Well, both of them are cultishness, and maybe go back to their old spiritualist churches or their um, meditation groups before everything got crazy. Because, see, what a lot of us are doing, how we call out these people, and I've done this quite a bit with members of the the spiritualist church that used to be, and in Lilydale, and this thing. How can you be spiritual and be in alignment with somebody like that? And guns and things like that. How can you be? And, they usually don't have an answer. So this is not going to be overnight, but I do get a sense it could be building up a momentum. But what I'm seeing is a lot of them are just going through grief of that Three of Swords feeling of betrayal. So what I get kind of psychically, along with the cards, is that a lot of these people just may lay low for a while and then slowly inch their way back into the world that they knew before all of this insanity. So it's time, as this picks up momentum, I get a sense that people regaining their sanity could very well pick up some momentum, but that will be for a future reading. So with that, I'm going to sign off for now. Bye.